Louise Glück. Louise Elisabeth Glück. Born April 22, 1943, died October 13, 2023, was an American poet and essayist. She won the 2020 Nobel Prize in Literature, whose judges praised her unmistakable poetic voice that with austere beauty makes individual existence universal. Her other awards include the Pulitzer Prize, National Humanities Medal, National Book Award, National Book Critics Circle Award, and Bollingen Prize. From 2003 to 2004, she was Poet Laureate of the United States. Glück was born in New York City and raised on Long Island. She began to suffer from anorexia nervosa while in high school and later overcame the illness. She attended Sarah Lawrence College and Columbia University but did not obtain a degree. In addition to being an author, she taught poetry at several academic institutions. Glück is often described as an autobiographical poet. Her work is known for its emotional intensity and for frequently drawing on mythology or nature imagery to meditate on personal experiences and modern life. Thematically, her poems have illuminated aspects of trauma, desire, and nature. In doing so, they have become known for frank expressions of sadness and isolation. Scholars have also focused on her construction of poetic personas and the relationship, in her poems, between autobiography and classical myth. Glück served as the Frederick Eisman Professor in the Practice of Poetry at Yale University and as a professor of English at Stanford University. She split her time between Cambridge, Massachusetts, Montpelier, Vermont, and Berkeley, California. While attending poetry workshops, Glück began to publish her poems. Her first publication was in Mademoiselle, followed soon after by Poems in Poetry, The New Yorker, The Atlantic Monthly, The Nation, and other venues. After leaving Columbia, Glück supported herself with secretarial work. She married Charles Hertz, Jr. in 1967. In 1968, Glück published her first collection of poems, Firstborn, which received some positive critical attention. In a review, the poet Robert Hass described the book as hard, artful, and full of pain. However, reflecting on it in 2003, the critic Stephanie Burt said the collection revealed a forceful but clotted poet, an anxious imitator of Robert Lowell and Sylvia Plath. Following the publication, Glück experienced a prolonged case of writer's block, which was only cured, she said, after 1971, when she began to teach poetry at Goddard College in Vermont. The poems she wrote during this time were collected in her second book, The House on Marshland, 1975, which many critics have regarded as her breakthrough work, signaling her discovery of a distinctive voice. In 1973, Glück gave birth to a son. Her marriage to Charles Hertz, Jr. ended in divorce, and in 1977 she married John Drano, an author who had started the summer writing program at Goddard College. In 1980, Drano and Francis Voigt, the husband of poet Ellen Bryant Voigt, co-founded the New England Culinary Institute as a private, for-profit college. Glück and Bryant Voigt were early investors in the institute and served on its board of directors. In 1980, Glück's third collection, Descending Figure, was published. It received some criticism for its tone and subject matter. For example, the poet Greg Kuzma accused Glück of being a child hater for her now anthologized poem, The Drowned Children. On the whole, however, the book was well received. In the American Poetry Review, Mary Kinsey praised the book's illumination of deprived, harmed, stammering beings. Writing in Poetry, the poet and critic J.D. McClatchy said the book was a considerable advance on Glück's previous work and one of the year's outstanding books. That same year, a fire destroyed Glück's house in Vermont, resulting in the loss of most of her possessions. In the wake of that tragedy, Glück began to write the poems that would later be collected in her award-winning work, The Triumph of Achilles, 1985. Writing in the New York Times, the author and critic Liz Rosenberg described the collection as clearer, purer, and sharper than Glück's previous work. The critic Peter Stitt, writing in the Georgia Review, declared that the book showed Glück to be among the important poets of our age. From the collection, the poem, Mock Orange, which has been likened to a feminist anthem, has been called an anthology piece because of its frequent inclusion in poetry anthologies and college courses. In 1984, Glück joined the faculty of Williams College in Massachusetts as a senior lecturer in the English department. The following year, her father died. 41, the loss prompted her to begin a new collection of poems, Ararat, 1990, the title of which references the mountain of the Genesis flood narrative. Writing in the New York Times in 2012, the critic Dwight Garner called it the most brutal and sorrow-filled book of American poetry published in the last 25 years. Gluck followed this collection with one of her most popular and critically acclaimed books, The Wild Iris, 1992, which features garden flowers in conversation with a gardener and a deity about the nature of life. Publishers Weekly proclaimed it an important book that showcased poetry of great beauty. The critic Elizabeth Lund, writing in the Christian Science Monitor, called it a milestone work. It went on to win the Pulitzer Prize in 1993, cementing Gluck's reputation as a preeminent American poet. While the 1990s brought Gluck literary success, it was also a period of personal hardship. Her marriage to John Drano ended in divorce in 1996, the difficult nature of which affected their business relationship, resulting in Drano's removal from his positions at the New England Culinary Institute. Gluck channeled her experience into her writing, entering a prolific period of her career. In 1994, she published a collection of essays called Proofs and Theories, Essays on Poetry. She then produced Meadowlands, 1996, a collection of poetry about the nature of love and the deterioration of a marriage. She followed it with two more collections, Vita Nova, 1999, and The Seven Ages, 2001. In 2004, in response to the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, Gluck published a chapbook entitled October. Consisting of one poem divided into 6 parts, it draws on ancient Greek myth to explore aspects of trauma and suffering. That same year, she was named the Rosencrantz Writer-in-Residence at Yale University. After joining the faculty of Yale, Gluck continued to publish poetry. Her books published during this period include Averno, 2006, A Village Life, 2009, and Faithful and Virtuous Night, 2014. In 2012, the publication of a collection of a half-century's worth of her poems entitled Poems, 1962-2012, was called A Literary Event. Another collection of her essays entitled American Originality appeared in 2017. In October 2020, Gluck was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature, becoming the 16th female literature laureate since the prize was founded in 1901. Due to restrictions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, she received her prize at her home. In her Nobel lecture, which was delivered in writing, she highlighted her early engagement with poetry by William Blake and Emily Dickinson in discussing the relationship between poets, readers, and the wider public. In 2021, Gluck's collection, Winter Recipes from the Collective, was published. In 2022, she was named the Frederick Eisman Professor in the Practice of Poetry at Yale. 54, in 2023, she was appointed a professor of English at Stanford University, where she taught in the creative writing program. Gluck's work has been the subject of academic study. Her papers, including manuscripts, correspondence, and other materials, are housed at the Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Yale University. Gluck pointed to the influence of psychoanalysis on her work, as well as her early learning in ancient legends, parables, and mythology. In addition, she credited the influence of Leonie Adams and Stanley Kunitz. Scholars and critics have pointed to the literary influence on her work of Robert Lowell, 75, Rainer Maria Rilke, and Emily Dickinson, among others. Thanks for watching HerStory channel. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe our channel.